One of my most anticipated films of Fantastic Fest 2019 was Synchronic. And I know you guys I have no idea what that is. That's okay. I mean, you might if you listen to Deliberations of Doom and stuff where we talked about the previous movies by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorehead, which we're big fans of, especially The Endless and Spring.
And I was one who was unfamiliar.
Oh, you had not seen those yet.
Yeah.
So you're the one guy.
I'm the one. Well, I missed a couple years of Fantastic Fest when these were playing and the hype was around them. So I came back last year and didn't have a movie last year, so I'm just like, who are these guys? But everyone here seems to know them.
I mean, if I hadn't gotten to know them over the years from Fantastic Fest, I would consider myself a slathering fanboy of their films. So I was like, yes, can't wait. They were here. They were super cool about the whole thing. Even though I will say they've been telling me for years, no, the next film is not in the same universe as The Endless, which is one of those movies that you want every movie forward to be in that universe of. And then they were totally lying because it is completely in the same universe of that, but in a way that's obviously completely disconnected story. Synchronic. Well, why don't you? I've been keep doing the plots. Why don't you tell the plot of this?
Yeah, I mean, I like to be kind of vague about the plot to give you the basic details, but I'm sure it's in the trailer and stuff. It's pretty much the basic premise is there's a drug that it's killing people and killing people in really weird ways, weird psychedelic ways, and you come to find out it has to do with time travel. Sort of like the way the drug affects your brain. It does something where you could travel through time. And our two leads, Anthony Mackie and
Jamie Dornan.
Exactly. They are EMT guys, firemen, ambulance riders. And they're experiencing a lot of these deaths. And one of their daughters disappears on this drug. Anthony Mackie finds out that he essentially can use this drug and travel. He's trying to figure out how he could use it to try to find her or where she might be lost by taking this drug. And that's kind of where our movie... Anything more than that would give away any type of spoiler. So it's hard to really get into the details of this movie without mentioning the time travel element, which is something I was wary about doing because it is a nice surprise. But you can't really get into discussing it because it is, if you don't talk about that, you can only really talk about the first act of this movie.
It's just a story about two EMTs who discover a drug. And that's it.
Which doesn't sound like a bad movie, honestly. But yeah.
But I'll tell you that first act, and I was starting to worry watching it because I was getting kind of bored watching the first act. There were some really creative shots where I was like, wow, that was really cool. But I had read nothing about what this movie was about. So I went in completely unprepared for where the story was going to take us. When it finally does, in the second act, get into the more sci-fi aspects, I started to really get with it. And by the end, I was 110% with it, where I was thoroughly enjoying it. I love Anthony Mackie in this film. I think it's great. I think Dornan's good. It's really well shot, but I will say, these guys get better with every film in terms of it looking like a Hollywood production more and more, but you can still tell this isn't that film that's quite there yet.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. Without having the context of the earliest movies, watching this, it seemed very slick. Mm-hmm. I bought it fully as a Hollywood full-on production. Okay. And Anthony Mackie is great. Unfortunately, I'm on the other end of Chris's. I did not like this movie very much. Heathen, bad person over here. Bad. But I think it's... I similarly went in knowing nothing, and it's kind of reversed of you, because I think the first act, I was kind of into what I was getting, and I was like, oh, and I thought I was going to get a more grounded sci-fi thing, and the first scenes of it working the drug, I was like, this is cool. And then when it went to where it went with the time travel element, and it got really big and way broader than I expected, I was like, I don't like this.
I also though really do love time travel.
I'm into it. It's just, I think it's the first acts have different effects on this. You were like, when is this thing going to give me the thing that's crazy like these guys do? And I was like, I like this, and then it gave you the thing, and that was the thing I didn't
want. And that
took
it away from you.
Yeah, so it's like a,
He was like, I just was hoping for more of Downton Abbey or something.
No, come on. But we're definitely not in that mode. But yeah, I think it's got a little too big for its britches and too broad stuff. It just seemed like there's some nitpicky stuff I can get into with the time travel issues and the mechanics of it all, but I don't really care that much about that. It's just, it got a little too big and broad for me and too capital letter sci-fi from what I was expecting from the first act and how the movie was actually playing out and the performances we were getting. And it just got a little too hammy for me.
The one thing I'll say is, they're known for these films setting up a crazy element. and then never completely explaining it to you. You have many, many questions of like how the rules of this thing work, but it give you enough where you want to know more. This one kind of explains to you largely how this works. I mean, you don't know why it works the way it does, but you know the rules and what it of it. And I was kind of like, I almost wish you hadn't told me. But I did say I genuinely enjoyed this movie a lot. It's great to see a fourth film from these guys. I can't wait for the next one. Fans of the Endless will want to see it because even though it's subtle, there are clues throughout there that this is set in the same universe as that. So definitely another sorta sequel in their series. But yeah, I loved it. He didn't. Yeah. I don't know what's
I will say, even though I didn't, to be fair, I actually did not like it. Yeah. Didn't like it. Not interested in it. But I will say that the creativity and the inventiveness here and like the guys who made, like, the filmmaking behind it is not by any means bad. It's just not a story I was into at all. I wasn't watching being like, these guys can't make a movie. They clearly can make a movie. It just wasn't a movie I was interested in.
All right, you're out of here.
Yeah, all right, bye.
VFW, which is a movie whose name I keep getting wrong. VHS,
really?
VHS.
It showed literally
V-
3 letters. And it showed opposite VH, yes.
Yes, I know. But for some reason, I'm like, obviously I was not a veteran of foreign wars because I can't remember the name of the damn acronym of the film. This is the latest by by Joe Begos, who is probably best known for his film Almost Human, which is a very low-budget alien horror film, which I kind of enjoyed. It's very, like, yeah, it's got good stuff in it.
I haven't seen that one. I will say, we'll talk about it more probably in our wrap-up, but I also saw he had Bliss here this year as well. So I can say he's a pretty diverse director as far as the style that he goes with.
I really just struggle with making Carl Urban jokes about the TV show.
Oh, God. But VFW is a sort of 70s and 80s superstars of people who played villains a lot. List of characters who all play old, grizzled Vietnam and Korean War veterans who hang out in the local VFW and they drink like fucking crazy. You've got Stephen Lang, Martin Kove, William Sadler, David Patrick Kelly, Fred the Hammer Williamson, George Wendt.
I have to say, I keep talking about this movie and about William Sadler, who I kind of freaked out about, and my wife is just like, who?
Yeah, well, nobody, unless you're
the bad guy from Die Hard 2.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one.
You saw his naked butt.
I was trying to tell my wife who he was, and she's like, I don't know. It's a listed movie she hadn't heard of. I should have said that.
I did the same.
That one works.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it didn't work.
So they live in a time where, like, it's like all those 80s films where the drugs have gotten out of... It's like Dead End Drive-In or something.
Like 5 years from now.
The drugs have gotten so out of control and crime has gotten out of control, and there's whole areas of the city the cops have just largely abandoned. It's not super sci-fi. It's just almost
post-apocalyptic. I saw them as they're basically mutants, but I wouldn't say they're mutated.
Yeah.
It's a year after Trump gets reelected.
Yeah, right?
Oh, God.
And that's right across the street where those guys are currently hanging out at an old theater. And this girl, after finding out that the evil drug lord guy has essentially, for all extents and purposes, murdered her sister.
On a lark.
Yeah, breaks in, takes their big shipment of drugs that literally would make or break this guy, and hightails it out of there, but not before they see her hightailing it. She runs into the VFW, and they're like, who is this chick? And immediately, hundreds of drug addicts.
Well, first it's 2, and it's basically their muscle and the brother of the drug kingpin. Right. So they may or may not have pissed him off further by killing his brother. So things go downhill.
It turns into an assault on Precinct 13. Sorry, that was his. Pretend he said that. Go ahead, say it.
It's like Assault on Precinct 13.
Wow, that was a great insight, Aaron. I can't believe I didn't think of that.
Thank you. but like mixed with fucking, I just blanked. Something really horribly violent and splattery. Hobo with a shotgun mixed with Assault on Precinct 13.
It kind of is. Actually, I'll give you that one. They also have a younger veteran who just came back, Tom Williamson, playing Sean. And basically he's like, okay, I've got a pistol, we have a shotgun, and we have a rifle. Yeah, Deadeye. And honestly, it kind of degrades into a perfect, like, barricaded fortress fight against, like, yeah, they're not really mutants, but they are.
They might as well be.
They're basically all of one mind of, hey, if you said you give me a kilo of drugs if I get the rest of the drugs back, I will totally rip the fuck out of these.
So we could say it's kind of mixed with Dread at the same time, too, which is so similar. But were you just about to say that, too?
No.
Oh, my God. Get out of my head, Aaron.
Into my car. Wait.
The fact that they're drug dealing kind of animals is... There was a point where I kind of sat back and was like, is this movie a right-wing power fantasy? Because, like, The setup kind of is, but the movie never actually goes political, and it never humanizes any of the poor, unfortunate junkies who get just destroyed in this movie.
Honestly, I think he's just going for a genre 80s style film. He's not even thinking about shit like that when he's making this movie. And yes, if you want to read that context in there, you can. But if it was never the intention, who gives a fuck? Who's going to watch this movie and get super upset about the political possible subtext other than Alan?
Basically, watch this movie to watch people get exploded.
Yeah, and like violently killed by some of the biggest badasses from 70s and 80s cinema. There's so many funny moments. There's so many great kills in this movie.
And Josh Ethier is so great as just the tank, just taking on all these old guys and beating the shit out of everything. I mean, look, it's a joy. Brian Salisbury has never been happier than when he was watching this movie.
He literally leaned over to me and said, "This is the greatest movie of the year, no question." I'm like, I'm sure you feel that.
So I feel like 80s action, like this is kind of a must.
Yeah, absolutely. It's way fun. It's a perfect midnight movie. If you get a chance to see it, if they play it at the Alamo or somewhere else around doing a late screening with an audience, that is the way to see this movie.
Lots of beer and a big loud audience.